right, welcome everybody. Today, our guest is Stuart Crawford, a marketing guru of all sorts of types. Spent a lot of his career marketing, specifically in the IT industry. Now he is more of a freelance marketer. We'll get into that conversation soon. Stuart runs a budding YouTube channel, has, again, his freelance marketing agency with his whole new vision. Again, we'll get into that. And he joins us today to discuss the power of marketing, some trends, some things you should get away from, and all sorts of stuff in between. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it. Stuart, welcome to today's show.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you again. It's been a couple of months since we saw each other face to face in beautiful Daytona Beach. Man, a lot of stuff has happened since we left Daytona Beach, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And now you find yourself going from Daytona Beach, where it's very nice, very beautiful, and very warm, to how much snow do you say you're currently having outside your door?
Well, I'm looking outside right now. I think we're about 8 to 12 inches, probably somewhere in that area.
But that is a total drastic shift. But that's really taking you back to your roots. You said you're from the Canada.
Yeah, so I grew up in southern Ontario, just outside of Niagara Falls, well, in Niagara Falls. And then when I was 18, I decided to leave home and do what 18-year-olds do, join the Army. Ended up traveling all across Western Canada and eventually settling in Calgary for about 20 some odd years and living in Calgary there. And then situations in my life changed and I moved back to Ontario to be close to family. And then ended up in Florida for all strange reasons. I ended up in Florida. Now I live in a place called Moncton, New Brunswick, which is in Atlantic Canada. It's somewhere in this part of the country. In this country I never lived. So my wife and I said, let's give it a shot. Let's go there.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, not too many people would be brave enough to pick up from Florida to pretty much having snow quite a bit of the year.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of situations that dictated that. Obviously being on a visa in the United States, when I sold my business down there legally, I had to leave the country. So I did the right thing and moved back to Canada and so I wouldn't be offside with immigration. But so I'm back in Canada, and it's home. So it's nice to be back to the things that I'm used to.
Sure. Yeah, us United States people are a little quirky sometimes.
Well, it's not just that. It's just like it's like I lived on a border town, right? So I grew up like a mile away from the U.S. border. So I'm used to a lot of the U.S. lifestyle. And really, in all fairness, Canadians and Americans, although we like to say we're different, we're a lot alike.
Fair enough.
But the thing is, like, you miss some of the restaurants and just the ways of life and just I would say sometimes even the mannerisms. That they have the culture. I guess culture is a big word, right? You miss some of the cultural things that you're used to. So Florida was great. I love Florida. I would never badmouth Florida. My time down there, I learned a lot. It grew me as an individual, not just as a business person, but just as a regular individual from the things I learned there. And we'll still make our way down there every once in a while because nice thing about being Canadian, we have a free and open border that we can go across and visit whenever we like. So it's all good.
Yeah, good, awesome. But and I'm appreciative of that, or else I really probably would not have gotten to know you as well as I know you now. So yeah, you talk a little bit about your background, your history. What got you into marketing? Like, and specifically, you spent a lot of that time marketing to IT companies, specifically, such as myself. What got you into that?
It's kind of a long story. So when I started my MSP back in 2001, I had two great guys. At the time I wouldn't say they were great guys, but my two business partners. But looking back now, they were great guys. We started this MSP just much like you are in Calgary, and three of us were technicians. And one day, just shortly after we got going, we sat down and said, who's going to do marketing and sales? Who's going to do this? And, I said to them, guys, I'm probably the most extrovert than the rest of us. And Tony and Rob were very much introverts. And that was fine. They had their roles and they played very well. I was the I was the external facing guy, like the guy that liked to talk, the guy that used to go to all the business networking events. So I took on the role of marketing and sales director, and we grew our MSP to $5.5 million in 7 years.
Wow.
I won't say it was all my doing. It was, I just played a small role in that.
Sure.
There's guys in the IT channel that you may know. Colin Knox, who ran Passportal, was our service director, and his team were part of our team there. And so we had a bunch of really good people. And eventually, we decided to sell the business. I was the first one to leave in 2008, and then Rob and Tony sold it shortly after I left. And I said, "What am I going to do with myself now? I have not." So my friend David and I started Ulistic in 2010, and I bought David out a few months after we got going. Realized that David and I were much better friends than we were business partners. And my friend Eric Simpson, who some people in the IT world may know, called me up one day and said, "You know what, Stuart? There's a real need for people just to do marketing for these MSPs."
Yeah. And
that's how we got started with Ulistic in 2010. Started doing marketing for MSPs, and it just kind of grew from there. And to the point where, like, we were at the time of my sale of it to Tech Pro, we were one of the top.
I'm so sorry. I just lost your microphone.
Oh, am I back now? Now I lost you. Now I lost your microphone.
There we go. Are we good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Sorry.
We'll edit that. We'll edit that out of the.
Yeah, that's perfect. Exactly. That's what editing software is for, anyways.
Exactly. So yeah. So I was saying that. So what I was saying is that we grew that company, sold it to Tech Pro in October of this year, or still 2022. Sold that to Tech Pro, and took a little bit of time off, a couple of days, maybe a few hours off. Which that's if you know me well, Nick, going back in my life, I've never sat still for a long period of time. When I left the Army in 1997, I went right to an IT job, like literally hung up my uniform, put on my street clothes, and went to work. And then when I sold out of IT Matters, I basically went right into another thing right afterwards. And so I didn't take a lot of time off. Like I said, a few days or a few hours really to exhale. And then we started what we call Out and About, which is my Missy and I, my wife, we were commenting one day about our YouTube channel, and we said, "Hey, we always say we're out and about here, and then she said, "Well, why don't we just kind of?" I said, "No offense, the Americans on listening to us, they always say you Canadians say a boot."
Yeah, that's right.
So when I looked at her, I said, "No, we don't. We always say it's a boat." So we played on that, and we called it Out and About. So when we're looking for a name for our freelance agency, we just said, let's go with Out and About.
I love that. So
that's what we're called now. And we do marketing. I won't say we do marketing services. We're not the same as what my old company was I sold, or at least not going in that direction. We're pretty much a content marketing company for small businesses globally now. Really, we can take on clients anywhere, but help them with things like, website content, blog content, things like this, YouTube content. Really help coach and advise them on the right content strategies for their business.
Okay. No, that's cool. And before I move on and ask you the next question, people are right. It is out. You are saying it incorrectly. You're saying a boot, but I do love the name. I love that you played into that. That is awesome. You Canadians have a little bit of a slang, but I'm sure you could reverse that and say that about us too.
Everything. It's one of the things about this, the world that we live in. Everybody has its own culture and accent, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So thinking about content marketing, so why content marketing? Like, why this specific niche, especially after you come from a world where you're doing all sorts of marketing from A to Z? Why specifically content marketing for you?
Well, before I answer that question, let's kind of look at the history of marketing in general, right? So, I kind of follow back on a lesson my grandfather taught me years and years ago. He said to me, he said, "Stuart, you can do everything you want in the world, but the only thing that matters is how many people know you and heard of you and what you do." And, that's what kind of influenced me to kind of be a master networker back in my day. Was I wanted to get out there, and when I had a lot of energy for that, get out and meet as many people as I possibly could and get them to know me. I wouldn't remember half of the people that I met, but they all knew me. And what I wanted to connect the dots with, they knew me and they knew me as an IT professional. So I wanted to get known as being anybody who thought about technology, my name came up first. Or if not first, close to the top as possible.
Yeah.
So that's how we built IT Matters to the company that it was. And really, in all fairness, that's how in the early days of Ulistic, that's what we did too. We replicated that formula of success. Going to the next stage, when I look at marketing, and I'll kind of relate it to IT because that's what I know, right?
Sure.
So your competitors, others in the industry, peers in the industry, we basically do the same thing. And the same thing can be said about marketing companies. We all do SEO, we all do websites, we all do ads management. And that's what we do. That's everybody does the what we do piece. We may have a different slant on it here and there, but really at the core of it, that's what we do. We all kind of use the same tools, SEMrush, Ahrefs, LabTech, Kaseya, Autotask, ConnectWise. We all use the same tools. So here's the typical IT company or small business. We're doing email marketing. We're doing Google Ads. We're writing blogs. We have a website. And what's missing is that connection with the human, right? Because at the end of the day, even in business to business, you're still dealing with people. And people want to learn. They want to be educated. They want to be entertained. Even the most, professional lawyer still likes to be entertained and is still a person, right?
Right.
So I looked at all the things that we do from an email marketing perspective, what we do for an SEO perspective. And I think the topic for today is SEO is dead, along with content marketing.
Yeah.
First off, let me qualify this. SEO is not dead. The way we do SEO is changed drastically. And there's so many more SEO fronts out there that we can really play on. I know you had an individual on a few episodes ago talking about SEO, right?
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and correct me, he was 100% correct in everything he said. Backlinks, they're all important. But the way we do things on the SEO world has changed drastically from the days of just going on to Fiverr and buying 500 backlinks for $50, right? So getting into content and some of the things that you do and others that we know in the industry do, you producing content such as this podcast or your YouTube channel, that is the new realm of marketing in today's world. Today's company, and I'll just Gary Vaynerchuk. Some of you may know Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about he's a content marketer. He develops content that drives business for VaynerMedia and all of his other marketing or fronts or companies his basic start was wine library. He talked about that story, right? He started selling wine online from his father's wine store in New Jersey. And you may not be old enough to remember this, Nick, but I do. The early days of YouTube. Sure.
Oh yeah.
Where his Gary Vaynerchuk wine thing was reviewing 3 or 4 different types of wine. What wine, what steak pairs with Merlot, right? And he educated people, and he ended up selling more wine and growing his father's wine business because of that. That's wine, right? People love wine, right?
Sure. Yeah.
RVs, computers, whatever. People still buy those products and those services. So if you can look at content that, and we can get into the exacts of the content in a second, but really in theory, if you can produce content that resonates with your audience, they are going to buy more of your services. It's funny because Nick, you're in the IT space, this. A lot of your competition hold their cards very close to their chest.
Yeah, that's what makes you money.
I'm not going to tell you my secrets. Heaven forbid. The worst one is I'm not going to tell you who my customers are because I don't want you marketing to them. we can go by a list or look on LinkedIn and find out who these people are, like almost instantaneously. But they often fail on the other side is looking at saying this is that, oh, you know what? These guys work with this company, and I know those people. If they're good enough to work with them, they must be good enough to work with me. So again, I'm kind of probably a little fragmented in my thoughts on this, but and that's because that's the way my brain works, very much in pieces. But kind of coming back full circle, today's business needs to focus on producing content, educating and entertaining their followers and subscribers and clients and prospects in today's world. And that's how you're going to get more business going, especially going into 2023.
I mean, it kind of seems counterintuitive. I mean, what you're describing there is giving away what people typically paid for, giving it away for free.
Pretty much, yeah.
To get money, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. If you can, I'll just kind of put it into your terminology, right, into the IT world.
Perfect.
If you can show a prospect the importance of managing their server infrastructure, right? Or show them how to manage their Microsoft Azure instances, right? And you're targeting other, network administrators, network managers at a 250-person company. They'll come to the point and say, you know what? I just don't have time to deal with this. I'm going to call that Nick guy because at least he seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. I mean, it's really you're showing all your cards. I mean, you're laying everything out there and saying, here exactly is why I'm qualified, even if I'm giving away some. I mean, because at the end of the day, we all think we're holding cards, but the reality is nothing is different between anybody else. I mean, we're all doing the same things. We're not giving away trade secrets. Anybody could look it up online or get trained to do it.
So let's keep it. Let's look at another industry. Let's say cabinet makers, right? So kitchen cabinets, right?
Yeah.
They're all probably sourcing their wood from 2 or 3 major wood sourcing organizations, right? They all have a lathe. They all have the same. I'm not a carpenter, so I'll get these wrong, right? These wood shaping tools, right? They all have the same tools, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and they all use the same types of paints and stains and lacquers. At the end of the day, their only real currency they have is how they make Sally, the house. Well, I'm going to show my age, the housewife, but Sally and George, who own a home in Hershey, Pennsylvania, how they make them feel about their new kitchen, right? And if Sally and George rave about it, how it makes them, makes their home feel more like a real home versus just another house. Well, guess what? They're going to get more people calling because more people want to have that same experience.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, no, I hear you on that. That's actually great. So thinking about just this idea of content marketing, is there anything that goes along into content marketing that is like also super important in terms of, you talk about a gamut of stuff in marketing. There's quite a bit in there. Is SEO still like maybe a tier 2 kind of thing? Like it's up there with content marketing, but not necessarily. Is there anything else within marketing in general that people should be producing and going after?
So if we look at SEO, you mentioned SEO, so let's kind of focus on that for a second here.
Yeah.
So at one time, people ran SEO companies, and they would put all this thin content online. They would stuff a website full of keywords, and that wasn't good enough for it to rank on Google. Google is in the business of returning the right answers for the questions that people have. So once SEO people started manipulating the search results, Google said, whoa, this is not what I want to do. This is not getting me the right results. So they change up the algorithm, and they do that a handful of times a year. And probably every day there's minor little tweaks, but a handful of times a year, they'll make significant changes to the algorithm. We've never had a hit negative on anything that happens with the search algorithm changes, because of the fact that we just keep our approach very simple. Produce the best quality content and then educate the reader on why whatever they're looking at is, this is the right answer for it. And I just read something that Google just announced so they have this acronym called EAT. And they just, they used to be authority and trustworthiness. And I think the E stood for, I can't remember now off the top of my head what it was. But the new one is now experience. You have to demonstrate that you're experienced in that world, right? So let's take medical. Let's just say you're running a local clinic, right? And you're looking for new patients. So you want, in order to rank amongst all the other medical clinics in the area, you really have to show your expertise and your experience. That's what E was, expertise. And also your experience in there, because the fact is that, Google wants the right, when somebody says, hey, I got a cold, how do I recover faster from a common cold? And they want the medical clinics with the right kind of information to show up higher than the others. Now, so SEO is not dead. I mentioned it's how we do it has changed, right? We no longer can go buy links on Fiverr, and there's people still selling that stuff, but don't do that. Whatever you don't do that. You got to focus on providing the right content for your audience and have it published in multiple locations, right? So your website is the easiest one to get published because you own it. It's easy to publish stuff on it. And I still make a point of publishing good quality content. And the length doesn't matter. Don't listen to any of these SEO people who have 1,500 words or 2,000. I always have to write until you answered the question, right? If that takes 300 words or takes 3,000, write until you answer the question. But also, not just putting it on your website, but also looking at YouTube and video marketing. And I always say YouTube because YouTube's owned by Google and people go to YouTube as a search tool. But there's other things like Vimeo and TikTok and Instagram. And those are not, that's part of the equation. It's not to be excluded from the equation, right? But YouTube, but also looking at do what we're doing right now. You have a podcast. I wanted to get on there and tell my story, so I reached out to you and said, "Hey, Nick, how would have me on your podcast and your stream?" There's others out there in your industry that you could do the same thing for. And people are starving for content. I think you were just on one of the top upcoming MSP podcasts recently. I can't remember the person. Damian
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that he's looking for people like you to talk to, and there's all kinds. So when I talk about remember the day a few minutes ago I talked about buying backlinks. So you still need backlinks. That's part of your SEO strategy, but you can't go buy them anymore. Well, you have to earn them. So that's media.
You can't steal it.
You can't steal it. Yeah. Media and PR, which one of the things we're going to start looking at again in the new year, right? Is getting into publishing, getting published in the local magazines and local online publications, but also national. Haro is helpareporter.com is a great site for that. But there's journalists out there looking for sources on every topic under the sun: IT, cars, I don't know, take home building, right? There's all kinds of people that are looking for, experts out there. The challenge is this, Nick, is that most people are so caught up in their day-to-day work that they don't carve out the right amount of time to do their own marketing. Or they hire somebody with a great resume on paper, but really doesn't understand their industry. So I did well in my career as an IT marketing because I came from an IT background. I have my MCSE on NT4, my Novell CNA, and
whoa, now you're showing your age.
I am. I was certified first on Banyan Vines. Well,
Oh boy.
but I came from the IT world. I knew that industry, so my street creds were there already.
Sure.
Um, and when I tried to work with an agency out of Bradenton that was a motor coach store, loved the guy to bits, but I just didn't understand the motor coach industry enough to really do a good job for him. Like, so I kind of said, I just don't know it. You'll be better served by somebody who understands, the difference between a Newell and a Prevo coach, right? I just don't know that. I can tell you the difference between a Dell and an HP computer, but
Right.
I just don't know the difference between these luxury brands. So you need to find somebody who understands your industry and is going to carve. Like, that's one of the things that made IT Matters so successful back in our days, is that I did marketing for us 8 hours a day. I didn't have other things that I had to worry about. That was my job, to go and do marketing and sales. You notice I put marketing first before sales, right? I had to do marketing and sales for our MSP, and I would start. I guess I was kind of a early adopter. I had websites for SonicWallSecurity.com. I went and registered a SonicWall security domain name so I could write about Sonic walls, right? So when people in Calgary needed a Sonic wall, that's where my Sonic Wall security blog came up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or my Dell support. I would buy ads in the Yellow Pages, Nick, that said Dell support by IT Matters, right? Because I knew people were looking for Dell support, and we wanted to be. Now I don't know if you can get away with that stuff today, but the whole premise about the marketing side is still there. If you're one of the top Dell partners, why not position yourself that way?
Right.
And educate people on how to use their SANs and their switches and their network infrastructure appliances and all of a sudden, or security or whatever, right? The thing is, you just got to carve out the time to do it.
So, it's not even like you need, you don't need to be an expert in content generation. You simply just need to be an expert in your field and literally just generate content.
Yeah, exactly. I started, and I hate to admit this, in my own personal blog or personal YouTube channel. I still use my iPhone. Hey. I haven't bought any expensive camera gear. It works fine for me.
Sure.
But to get started, everybody has a smartphone, and smartphones today take some pretty good video,
high quality stuff.
Yeah, and then you can go on Upwork or Fiverr and find somebody to edit this stuff for you, right? Sure. And then you've got to understand, then you got to understand how to, upload it properly. And there's an art to uploading video, making sure it's tagged properly. But there's all kinds of groups that I use vidIQ from the video side. Sure. But there's 2 or 3 other ones out there that are like that. Yeah. No, here's the cool thing about it is all this stuff, all this education is online for free if you just go to YouTube or Google and search for it. Like how to start a YouTube channel. I'm sure there's 5 million videos on how to start a YouTube video or YouTube channel.
Absolutely, there are.
Yeah, some of them are good and some of them are absolute garbage. But the trick is this: Nick, you just got to do it. Like I've been at this now for a number of years, and I don't think I'm not polished at all. I still stumble over my thoughts on my words, and I look at myself on camera, and go, man, I can lose about 50 pounds, right? But the thing that makes you you.
The thing that makes you you is you're authentic, and people love that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah, people love authenticity.
If I showed up on this video with a suit on, people go, "That's not him,"
At least the people that know you would know that's definitely not you.
Yeah, exactly. But if your job is to be a corporate attorney, you want to play that part, right? But you can also be the corporate attorney that likes to play tennis and wants to become a part-time tennis coach and starts creating a bunch of videos on how to perfect your backswing.
But see, now what you're talking about is a total shift. In what even the culture, this new generation of people needing marketing to, personally and commercially. It's totally different. You are marketing. You said earlier, you're marketing experiences. It's no longer, it's like, hey, here's the 5 services I do. No, here's an experience. Here's an outcome. Here's a lifestyle of living, and you're selling that.
Yeah, that's true. And talking about just that whole thing about the experience is that one of the easiest ways that a business today can take advantage of is just sit down with your customers and your clients. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about document versus create. Document how your customers feel about your services. That sit down with them and just get what do they call those selfie? Not a selfie stick, but you know what I'm talking about, like
oh yeah, yep.
Those special YouTube cameras. I can't. That's probably when you get to my age, you start forgetting things real quick, right? But get this stuff and just sit down with your customers and your clients and say, tell me first off, tell me a little bit about you. What do you do? How you the services you provide, and get them to talk about their journey and all that stuff. And people love that stuff. I don't know if I told you this yet, Nick, but one of the easiest ways to help grow your business, right, is interview your customers and your clients, but also reach out to other businesses that you want to do business with. So let's say you want to pick up a new co-managed deal with this perfect client in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You look at it, it crosses all the checkbox, right? What's one of the ways you can get in there? Reach out to the CIO or the IT manager and say, hey, I want to interview on my tech podcast on what you do as a CTO or CIO or an IT manager. I want you to tell my story so we can educate other CIOs or CTOs or IT managers. And you know what? You're interviewing your prospects. You're getting them on, because what happens, that same guy gets phone calls from 3 or 4 other MSPs. Hey, could you use some co-managed services today?
Yeah, right.
First off, they're going, what the heck is co-managed services? Because they need to be educated on what that is. Yeah. But you reach out and be different and say, I run a tech podcast and I want to interview you on what you do day to day as an IT manager for a mid-sized company in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. It is.
And some will say yes and some will say no.
Yeah.
But that is to me, that is a way in. If you want to go after lawyers, that's an intellectual property lawyer. Talk to them and say, hey, because a lawyer is not going to take your call for IT services, but they're going to take your call and say, I'm looking for an intellectual property lawyer that could talk about the digital rights online. Would you mind taking 15 or 20 minutes out of your day to meet me here and talk about it? Now you planted that seed, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Man, this is fascinating stuff. One thing I wanted to hit on too, even beyond content marketing too, is marketing has a spectrum of stuff. What are some things that are like people should leave in the dust? Drop that. Don't worry about that piece of marketing anymore. Is there anything out there that you're like, man, this just isn't jiving in marketing anymore?
I kind of look at marketing as like playing golf, right? I'm not sure if you're a golfer or not, Nick, but
a bad one.
I would be in that same category as well. I like golf, but I'm not very good at it. Ask Aaron Kane. Actually, you can watch our video, me and Aaron golfing on my YouTube.
We'll have to post a link to that.
I look at it this way. In golf, there's different clubs for different shots and different situations, right? You're not going to use your driver in the bunker. Right? So, although some people would, but they would probably wonder why they don't get the right result. And that's what people do in marketing, though. They're using the driver in the bunker, right? And they're wondering why it's not working. You have to use your sandwich for that, right? That's what the club's for, right? So there's not one thing that you need to stop doing with marketing. You just got to make sure it's in the right context. Let's use email marketing as a general, because a lot of people do email marketing because it's readily available. It's relatively cheap to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like direct mail. If you get 1% to 2% return on it, you're doing really, really well. But email marketing still has a very valid place in the marketing world. So where most people go wrong is they buy a list. They load it up in their email tool and they start blasting out, buy my services, buy my services, buy my services, buy my services. if you may like golf, hit the perfect shot that keeps you coming back tomorrow with it, but a high probability it's going to fail. And it's going to fail. Like that I won't say it always fails, but it has a high probability of failure.
Sure.
Because first of all, people have no clue who you are. Why are you emailing them? They're hitting the delete key. Well, cold email outreach is probably something I would stop doing. But I wouldn't stop email marketing. Mm-hmm. So here's how you use email marketing to your advantage. You combine it with other things, right? So let's say you go to a Chamber of Commerce event, you meet 10 people, and instead of you adding them onto your SharpSpring or HubSpot or MailChimp, whatever tool you use, and start blasting out your newsletter because you think it's really good content, use your email marketing to first off remind them that they met you the night before. Slowly introduce yourself and gain that trust with them. As Gary Vaynerchuk, I always use Gary Vaynerchuk as an example, right? Because he's got some really good stuff. Yeah. You need to do that jab, 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 right hook, right? Hey, I met you at the Chamber of Commerce event last week. Hope you guys got hope you had some great time like we did. Just a quick reminder about what we do, blah. Nothing too elaborate. The next email, just checking in. It's been a week since we were at the Chamber of Commerce event. Hope things are going well. Hey, if you're up for a coffee or a quick chat, let's schedule something, right? Then the third email could be something like, I have 3 or 4 other clients that may be interested in something that you have to offer. Can I get on a phone call and learn more about you? Because you have to learn about them more. And then maybe you put that on your video, like you a video like you're doing now, or you do a blog post or something like that, right? I know this whole talk is supposed to be on content marketing, but it's really it's basic 101 stuff, right? Yeah. Once you earn that right to market to them, then you can go and promote yourself to them a little bit more. But that I would stop doing cold email outreach and don't even stop buying lists of prospects because I've never liked that whole idea about buying a list. When people say, I want to go buy a list of 2,000 people, I'm gonna go spend $5,000 on Sales Genie. How about why don't you give me that $5,000 and I'll light it on fire because you're gonna have the same result, right?
Oh, that's a bold take, and it's probably true. It's probably true. More often than not.
Yeah, because people don't know you, right? Like I said, you can get that one person that you just time it absolutely perfect.
Sure.
That their IT company dropped the ball, or their IT manager just quit, and your email just happened to land at the right time. But that's very, very few and far between. Like I said, with email marketing, so here's a case in point of how email marketing works great. Our friends Curtis and Blake in Colorado. Every Tuesday, Curtis's email have gone out already for Tuesday because it's the Tech Tip Tuesday. Curtis actually does his homework and he actually researches all his prospects and adds them on to his mailing list. And then he sends them this tech tip every Tuesday. And then Blake sends out Cyber Saturday, which is a cybersecurity tip. They're not selling their services. They're just basically, hey, here's a great tip on how to use Microsoft Excel better.
Yeah.
And he gets, I would say, anywhere between 6 to 10 phone calls or leads a month just from that. But it's taken him a few years to build that trust and credibility in the marketplace. So it doesn't happen overnight, but you have to build it up. But he's marketing that list now, and I think there's 12,000 people on his list. But Curtis has built that list manually himself.
Wow.
Now I think he's gone out because he's been busy and using a few more automated tools to help him with that. But in the early days, he was building that himself, painstakingly researching everybody that he wanted to add onto that list.
People got this perception that marketing is a snap of the fingers kind of thing. I mean, you just tweak a couple tools here. You make sure your SEO is all online, and man, things start flying. Well, it's probably never been that way, but even now, maybe even more so than ever, because you need to provide a value, and how you're doing that is, what you talked about there. So email marketing is basically pushing back to content marketing.
Yeah.
Like you have this email, you're doing this email campaign, and you're pushing it back now to this whole idea of content generation. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
check out what I'm doing.
we're using email as a tool to promote the content.
Hmm,
And we're also doing
fantastic.
YouTube ads, and we're also doing blogs, and we're doing all that. And that one centerpiece of content, the same thing.
Yeah.
We're using multiple spokes to bring people back to that one thing,
Hmm.
which in his case is the video.
Hmm. That's
It
fantastic.
could be a white paper, it could be a a download checklist or something. But you know me, I'm very bullish on video.
You are. Day one I've met you, I think you were like, there's only one thing you need to do right today, and that's just pick up a camera and just go. Just start recording.
Because I think there's only a handful of people in the IT world that I would say do video
Mm.
right. There's Tom Lawrence,
Mm.
who has a great
Oh,
YouTube
yeah.
channel.
Yep.
Pete Mathis, what I wouldn't call Pete a IT guy anymore. He's more of a marketing guy, but he has a good channel. Talks about technology things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's guys like you and Curtis and Megan at Easy IT. You guys are all very much students of the world, and but that's the thing. The other 99% of the IT companies out there are not even doing it, or even worse, even worse. I would say don't do it and before doing this is going and getting that talking head video that everybody else uses, or that you see the ones where people have the animation drawing with the voiceover.
Yes. Yep. I know.
I guess you can say they're doing something, but it's all the same message. Why are you? I always think about that stiff guy talking about managed services, right?
And I would even argue, even to expand upon your point there, that it's not even just. So I would totally agree with you. IT companies are not doing this, but I would also even say there's a lot of industries, period, that aren't doing this.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers, there are a few customers that are doing content marketing where they're pushing content, but I would say 95% of them are definitely not doing
the problem with this here is not unique to the IT industry. This is a problem across plumbers, roofers, car dealerships.
Yeah.
I just moved back to Canada from the States, right? And the process to bring my vehicle into Canada was painful, right? I spent hours researching, okay, what did I have to do? It wasn't until the last minute that I actually found something that worked and helped me really understand the process of, okay, I have to fill out all this paper. Because the guy at the border told me, all you got to do is pay the tax and you're good, right? No. There was mountains of paperwork I had to fill out, right? If I was unprepared going there, it would. And I didn't even know I had to export my car from the U.S.
Really?
Before leaving. I had to actually go to the border and export my car, right? So I happened to find a guy who runs a consulting business who educates people on expats coming back to Canada. So I watched a couple of his videos and read a few of his blogs and hired him to help me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here he is. He's educating me on he gave me the steps. Here's all the steps you need to do, right? And I went, that's too much work for me. Hey, Paul, can you do that for me? Right? But that's how people look at it. They go, I don't have time for that. This guy's a professional. I'll pay him the $150 to do the paperwork for me.
I mean, honestly, that's a takeaway. That's a takeaway. I mean, you talked about holding all the cards or the secret sauce, but it's like, no, I'm going to lay it out there for you. And there's a reason why people pay us to do this, because no one else wants to do it.
Just check out guys like Scotty Kilmore. Like, I don't know if you're him. Like, Scotty's got a very unique he's an auto mechanic. Okay. He's actually from the same area of the world I'm from. He's from Lewiston on the other side of the border from where I'm from. But he has this auto mechanic. He does videos every single day on he gets user questions on, hey, I got a 2004 Saturn, it's making a noise like this. What do I need to do, right? And he tells them, just do this, right? Yeah. He runs a very successful mechanic business in Texas somewhere, or Tennessee or something like that now. But he's an auto mechanic using YouTube, and his videos are not produced professionally. Like it's just him. And one thing that drives me crazy, he has a laughing donkey. It's the same every time he laughs. He shows his donkey laughing. Right? Oh my word! It's rudimentary. I won't say it's amateur. It's not amateur. It's rudimentary, right? But it works. The guy gets millions of views, and I'm sure he gets millions of phone calls. People wanting to bring bring their cars to him because he tells you don't use this
Absolutely.
oil or don't use this, antifreeze or whatever. I wish I would have known, Nick, before I moved back to Canada that I had to change my windshield washer fluid because I woke up one morning with this big block of ice in my windshield washer fluid.
Oh. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, you wouldn't have thought of that
But
living in
going
Florida.
back to what I was saying is these guys educated me on the whole process. So when I showed up at the border, I was properly prepared.
Hmm.
I had everything, and I mean, it cost me a few $100s in fees to hire these guys to do it, but it was every penny. I could have did it myself, right? But
Wow.
it was better to bring the professionals in. And IT, roofing, plumbing, the same. People can fix their own pipes.
Hmm.
Don't put a pipe wrench in my hand because it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Sure.
But if I watch the video on YouTube on how to fix my a plumbing issue, I'm probably going to call the guy. Well, I just had my so when I moved up here, we don't have forced air furnaces here, right? First time ever living in a house that didn't have natural gas heating. We got these things called a mini split. I never heard of them before in my life, right? But I went online and did a search and said, who services mini splits? And I've read all the, I watched videos from a local company here in Moncton that did them. And I call them and say, hey, can you guys come in and service my, but they showed me how to clean the filters, which I was able to do myself.
Sure.
But I said, you know what, maybe I'll bring these guys in to kind of do a more thorough inspection. And that's what we want from our content. Now, if you want to take it to the next step, they would come back with their camera guy and interview me on what, how I find my, my heating in here, and show me some cost comparisons from, what my costs are compared to, maybe forced air or whatever, right? But that's the whole thing about content is it comes back to what I told at the beginning of this podcast: entertainment, education. You have to have both.
Yeah.
You have to be somewhat entertaining and you have to have to educate. You just can't do one or the other. Like you could get by. Well, you can get by with more education than entertainment. But for your entertainment with no substantial education, then you're just that's not the right formula either.
That's all fair.
But it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the worst that can happen?
You can always I don't think I ever shared this with you, but taking something off the internet is trying to take pee out of a swimming pool. It just doesn't happen.
That is a great.
You can quote me on that one, right? Once something's on the internet, it's there for life. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to use that in some sort of pitch later, sales pitch.
Yeah.
Well, as we kind of wind this thing down, I do want to give you kind of the last word thoughts that you have on the whole idea of content marketing. Is there any final things that you wanted to get off your chest, out of your head, on this whole subject matter?
So, one thing, and I guess we kind of failed to mention, getting started, right? How do you get started with this, right? So I always recommend interviewing your best clients and say, what bugs you about either, technology or this or that, whatever service you have, right? What bugs you the most? And use that to start your content. If you're not the photogenic type of person, don't let that stop you, because trust me, I look back on some of my early podcasts I did or webcasts or videos, and I go, man, I was bad back then. You will get better.
Yeah,
you will, and you will judge yourself often more harsher than your audience will. I had a guy yesterday, my financial advisor went to the Bills game on Saturday night, and I showed him a few of my videos from around Western New York on my favorite restaurants. And he loved it because I was so indirectly the restaurant that I did a video on got some business from it, right? But I thought those videos were horrible. He absolutely loved them. Right? So don't worry about him too much. You want them to be professional, yes, and you want to make sure you're not making a bad name for yourself. But I wouldn't get too critical on because if you try to make it too perfect, then you'll never get started, right? You can always improve. That's the thing. people that have been doing this for 20 years now are always finding new ways to improve themselves always. So you're always going to seek out those little things to make it better. The trick is you got to get started. There's so many people I know that are wonderful, have wonderful ideas that never get out of the starting block. And then they wonder why somebody else doesn't, they're beating, they're beating in the marketplace and they go, well, I had that same idea 5 years ago. Well, the difference is they did it and you didn't, right? And if you're stuck, then, here's a kind of a shameless plug, there's guys like me out there who can coach you and even help you get it done. That's the thing is if you don't know where to turn, like editing and production and stuff like that, there's always people out there that can help you do that stuff and get, that have those skills in that world. You can't, if you're a better lawyer than you are a video producer, then practice law, because you're going to make a heck of a lot more money practicing law than you would be sitting there editing video. But if you're like me, who wants to, kill some spare time learning it, then all the power to you. But don't worry. There's always somebody on Fiverr or Upwork that'll do it for $50 a project or $100 a project. And you just give them the raw files and they'll make something look great. And they have the right tools, right? They'll be able to adjust the lighting and all that stuff on your finished product.
That's perfect. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be perfect; just needs to be done. Period. You can't be anything if you just don't do it. So
yeah,
good. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I really, really appreciate you taking time to be with me on this show. And I'm going to post some of your contact information as part of this episode. If people have any questions, they can reach out directly. And again, I just appreciate having you here.
No, Nick, I really appreciate you inviting me and you being a student of the stuff that I share, because you've definitely come a long way in the short time that you've been doing this. You've really, I've been impressed with your journey. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. It's been fun. For all those people scared about it, I'm having a lot of fun. This is fun.
The one big learning that you have is that you're much more calmer on camera now. Because I remember the first early days, you spoke a mile a minute, right?
Yeah.
Now you're just taking a step back and just that's the thing is you're learning and you're evolving as you're doing it, which is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm enjoying it for sure.
And right, you should. It's fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to cut the broadcast and thank you guys for joining us today on today's episode.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.